Welcome, beautiful damsels. The ones who break the rules are the ones who make history. But here's the catch. What if breaking the rules isn't just a rebellious act, but a calling? A role reserved for the rarest of minds who see beyond the chaos of convention? Sigmas aren't just rule breakers, they're rule redefiners. Think about this. Over 80% of people follow societal norms without questioning them, yet it's the remaining few, like Sigmas, who rewrite the script of how the world operates. Why? Because they know something the rest don't. Most rules are nothing more than a blueprint for mediocrity. And let's be honest, some rules deserve to be broken. Who decided it's illegal to eat breakfast for dinner anyway? But for Sigmas, it goes deeper than quirky life choices. It's about dismantling systems that no longer work and building new ones that actually make sense. This isn't about rebellion for rebellion's sake. It's about rewriting the rules of life itself, so buckle up, because once we dive into the world of Sigmas, you'll realize the most dangerous thing you can ever do is follow the crowd. Number one, rules are made for the mediocre, not innovators. Most people follow rules because they were told it's the right thing to do. They're taught from a young age to stay in line, keep quiet, and do what's expected. But here's the problem. These rules aren't designed to create extraordinary lives. They're designed to maintain control, keep people predictable, and prevent disruption. For Sigmas, this is like being asked to live life with the brakes on. They see rules for what they really are, a way to keep the majority comfortable while discouraging anyone from stepping too far outside the box. Sigmas don't break rules just to stir things up. They do it because they're driven by something deeper. Rules often feel irrelevant to them because they're thinking on a higher level, focused on solving problems and creating solutions most people can't even see. To them, following rules made for the average doesn't make sense when you're anything but average. What makes Sigmas unique is they don't just reject rules, they replace them. They understand the world needs structure, but it needs the right structure. While most people cling to outdated norms because they're afraid of change, Sigmas see sticking to bad rules as a slow death. They'd rather break free, take risks, and challenge the status quo, even if it means being misunderstood or criticized. Sigmas don't wait for permission. They don't ask, "Is this okay?" because they know waiting for approval is how great ideas die. They move differently, not out of arrogance, but because they know progress doesn't come from playing it safe. The rules that work for the majority, Sigmas view them as suggestions at best, barriers at worst. They're not here to follow. They're here to lead, whether the world is ready for it or not. Number two, they master rules before breaking them. Sigmas don't just charge in and break rules for the thrill of it. That's what impulsive rebels do. Instead, they take their time to fully understand the rules they're about to dismantle. Why? Because knowing the system inside and out gives them the upper hand. It's like playing chess. You don't win by flipping the board. You win by studying every move, understanding every weakness, and then making the one move no one sees coming. For Sigmas, rules aren't just roadblocks, they're puzzles waiting to be solved. They dissect them piece by piece, figuring out what works, what doesn't, and why it exists in the first place. This mastery allows them to not only break the rules, but replace them with something better. They're not reckless, they're strategic. If they're going to disrupt the system, they're going to make sure it's worth the effort, and that it creates lasting change. This is why Sigmas rarely face the backlash other rule breakers do. By the time they challenge the status quo, they've already thought 10 steps ahead. They've anticipated the pushback, prepared for the fallout, and have a solid alternative ready to go. Most people don't even realize what's happening until the dust has settled, and the old rules are replaced by something new, something undeniably better. What sets Sigmas apart is their patience. They don't rush into conflict or act out of pure emotion. They understand the power of timing and precision. When they break a rule, it's not a random act of rebellion. It's a calculated decision based on knowledge, logic, and vision. They don't just play the game, they rewrite it. And in doing so, they leave everyone else wondering how they pulled it off so flawlessly. Number three, rules serve power, not truth. Most rules aren't written to protect or uplift everyone. They're created to maintain power structures. They keep the powerful in control and the rest obedient, often under the guise of fairness or order. Sigmas see through this facade almost immediately. They question the why behind every rule, and more often than not, the answer reveals a system designed to suppress individuality and free thought. For Sigmas, this is unacceptable. They're wired to resist anything that limits personal freedom or creativity, especially when those limits serve only a select few. Sigmas don't just break rules, they expose them for what they truly are. They shine a light on the uncomfortable truth society prefers to ignore, that many rules are designed to create conformity, not justice, to stifle innovation, not encourage it. Their defiance isn't just personal, it's a challenge to the entire system. By refusing to play along, they force others to question whether the rules they follow are fair or even necessary. What makes Sigmas so dangerous to outdated hierarchies is their ability to think independently. They don't need a crowd to validate their ideas, and they're not afraid to stand alone. This independence allows them to see beyond the surface, to the hidden agendas and power dynamics at play. When they break a rule, it's not just an act of rebellion, it's a statement. This isn't working, and it's time for change. By breaking constructs designed to suppress individuality, Sigmas challenge society to evolve. They create space for new ideas, new ways of thinking, and new systems that prioritize truth over power. And while the powerful may resist, they can't stop what Sigmas start, a ripple effect that forces everyone to question, adapt, and grow. Number 4. Rules are a reflection of fear, not freedom. Most rules aren't about guiding people to greatness. They're about controlling them through fear. Fear of failure, fear of uncertainty, and most importantly, fear of individuality. Societies create rules to keep people predictable, manageable, and safe. But safe doesn't mean free. Sigmas see this clearly, and they reject the idea that fear should dictate how people live. They know that when rules are born from fear, they don't protect, they restrict. Sigmas refuse to let fear govern their lives. They understand that real freedom requires risk, and they're not afraid to take it. While others cling to rules as a security blanket, Sigmas view them as chains, keeping people from exploring their true potential. For them, following rules out of fear is like willingly locking yourself in a cage just because someone else said it's safer inside. By breaking these rules, Sigmas don't just free themselves, they set an example for others. They show that taking risks, trusting your instincts, and embracing uncertainty are the keys to real growth. It's not about reckless defiance, it's about courage. Sigmas prove that stepping outside the boundaries isn't as dangerous as people think. It's often the only way to discover what you're truly capable of. What makes Sigmas stand out is their ability to see fear for what it is, a tool used to control. They refuse to be controlled, and by doing so, they challenge the very foundation of these rules. Their actions remind us that freedom isn't handed to you, it's something you claim when you stop living in fear and start living on your own terms. And that's why Sigmas don't just break rules. They break the illusion that those rules ever made sense in the first place. Number 5. Breaking rules is a form of creation. For a Sigma, breaking rules isn't an act of rebellion, it's an act of creation. They don't see rules as sacred or untouchable. They see them as outdated structures that limit progress. To them, rules are often the remnants of old systems created to solve problems that no longer exist. Holding on to them is like using a candle in a room full of electric lights. It makes no sense. So, they break the rules, not to destroy, but to build something better. When Sigmas dismantle old systems, they're clearing space for innovation. They recognize that groundbreaking ideas rarely emerge within rigid boundaries. True progress requires the courage to challenge what's always been done, to ask questions no one else is asking, and to experiment in ways that make others uncomfortable. Sigmas aren't afraid of that discomfort. They thrive on it, because they know it's the birthplace of transformation. What sets them apart is their vision. When others see rules as barriers, Sigmas see opportunities waiting to be uncovered. They aren't interested in tearing things down for the sake of chaos. They do it because they see a better way forward. Their ability to think beyond conventional limits allows them to create solutions that others can't even imagine. By breaking rules, Sigmas aren't just challenging the status quo, they're expanding the boundaries of what's possible. They inspire others to think differently, to question the rules that confine them, and to dream bigger than the systems they've been told to accept. Sigmas remind the world that every great invention, every bold idea, and every meaningful change starts with someone willing to say, "This rule doesn't work, and I'm not afraid to rewrite it." That's not destruction. That's creation at its finest. Number 6, they don't seek permission, they create movements. Sigmas don't waste time waiting for a green light from society. They don't ask, "Is this allowed?" because they know that if they did, they'd be stuck in the same endless loop of conformity as everyone else. Instead, they trust their instincts, act on their ideas, and create their own paths, even when those paths haven't been walked before. What makes this so powerful is that their boldness often inspires others to do the same. When people see a Sigma moving unapologetically, refusing to play by outdated rules, it's like a wake-up call. It forces them to question why they've been so afraid to step outside their own constraints. Sigmas don't just lead by example, they ignite a spark in others to rethink their own limitations. Sigmas aren't interested in shallow rebellion, they're focused on meaningful action. Their movements don't come from a desire to prove something. They come from a deep need to create something that matters. This authenticity resonates with people on a level that traditional leadership can't touch. While others are busy seeking approval or trying to climb established hierarchies, Sigmas are out there building something entirely new. And when they act, the ripple effect is undeniable. Whether it's challenging societal norms, rejecting toxic systems, or pioneering new ideas, their refusal to follow traditional paths often leads to larger cultural or social revolutions. Sigmas show people what's possible when you stop asking for permission and start living boldly. They remind us that the most transformative movements don't come from following. They come from having the courage to lead, even if you're the only one at first. Number 7, the rule makers are usually wrong. Sigmas have an uncanny ability to see the flaws in systems most people blindly accept. They understand that rules often come from imperfect sources, biases, outdated traditions, or fear of change. To a Sigma, following a rule without questioning its foundation is like building a house on shaky ground. It might stand for a while, but eventually it will crumble. Their keen perception allows them to spot the cracks before anyone else does, which is why they have no hesitation in challenging even the most ingrained societal norms. Sigmas don't break rules just to be difficult. They do it because they've analyzed the logic, or lack thereof, behind them, and found it wanting. They recognize how many rules are built on old-world thinking that no longer applies, created by people who are more concerned with maintaining power than ensuring fairness or progress. Rules rooted in fear, prejudice, or flawed reasoning aren't just irrelevant to Sigmas, they're obstacles to growth and innovation. When Sigmas challenge these norms, they're not simply rejecting them, they're exposing their weaknesses for everyone to see. This act forces society to confront uncomfortable truths about why certain rules exist and who they actually serve. It's not about rebellion for its own sake. It's about holding the system accountable. Sigmas don't just aim to tear down, they aim to rebuild on a foundation that makes sense, one based on logic, fairness, and real-world relevance. This mindset makes Sigmas a threat to those invested in keeping the status quo intact, but it also makes them pioneers of change. By questioning the rule makers and exposing their errors, Sigmas push society forward, proving that progress is impossible if we blindly follow rules created by people who got it wrong in the first place. Number 8. They value results over approval. For Sigmas, approval is irrelevant, results are everything. While most people cling to rules to win validation or avoid stepping on toes, Sigmas are focused on outcomes that matter. They see rules not as moral absolutes, but as constructs that can either help or hinder progress. And when a rule gets in the way of achieving something truly extraordinary, Sigmas don't hesitate. They treat it as an obstacle that needs to go. This isn't about recklessness or a disregard for structure. Sigmas understand the importance of order, but they also know that order without purpose is meaningless. What's the point of blindly following a rule if it achieves nothing or, worse, holds you back? For a Sigma, the end goal is always bigger than the fear of stepping out of line. Whether it's solving a problem, creating something revolutionary, or challenging the status quo, they prioritize impact over conformity. Their approach often confuses or intimidates those who value external validation. People accustomed to following rules for approval can't wrap their heads around someone who doesn't need a pat on the back or a gold star. But this detachment from societal expectations is precisely what allows Sigmas to excel. They're not bound by the fear of judgment or the need to fit in. Their decisions are guided by logic, intuition, and a deep understanding of what truly matters. By valuing results over approval, Sigmas accomplish what others can't. They're willing to take risks, challenge outdated norms, and carve paths no one else dares to tread, all because they care more about progress than pleasing anyone. This mindset doesn't just set them apart. It makes them unstoppable forces of change in a world that often prioritizes appearance over action. Number 9. Comfort zones are death traps. To Sigmas, comfort zones are nothing more than cleverly disguised cages. Rules are often built to keep people within these so-called safe zones, promising stability and predictability. But Sigmas see the truth. Comfort zones are death traps for growth, creativity, and individuality. Staying in them may feel secure, but it leads to stagnation, a slow erosion of potential that most people don't even realize is happening. Sigmas instinctively know that real progress only comes from stepping outside these boundaries, even when it's uncomfortable or risky. They're not afraid to challenge the limits imposed on them, because they understand that failure and criticism are part of the process. To a Sigma, the sting of failure is far less painful than the regret of never trying. That's why they're willing to take the leap while others hesitate, held back by fear or the illusion of security. What sets Sigmas apart is their mindset. While others cling to rules and routines for a sense of safety, Sigmas see these as roadblocks to evolution. They believe that every challenge, every push beyond the familiar, is an opportunity to grow stronger and smarter. This relentless pursuit of growth often leaves others baffled or even envious, because Sigmas thrive in situations where most people would falter. By rejecting the comfort zones society tries to impose, Sigmas not only free themselves but also inspire others to question their own limits. They prove that life isn't meant to be lived inside a box, and that the greatest rewards often lie just beyond the boundaries of fear. For Sigmas, the choice is clear. Stay safe and wither, or take risks and truly live. It's not just a preference, it's a philosophy that defines everything they do. Number 10. They intuitively spot loopholes. Sigmas possess an uncanny ability to spot loopholes in systems that others either overlook or simply accept. It's not that they're actively looking to break the rules for their own gain. It's more about recognizing where those rules fall short or contradict themselves. They have a knack for seeing weaknesses in the fabric of societal structures, and while most people are too busy following the path laid out for them, Sigmas are analyzing the edges, looking for ways to improve or dismantle what's outdated or inefficient. What makes this skill particularly powerful is that Sigmas don't exploit these loopholes selfishly. Unlike those who might bend the rules for personal advantage, Sigmas are more interested in how these gaps can be used to improve the system for everyone. They aren't driven by a desire to manipulate, but rather by a deep sense of fairness and a desire to make things more equitable. By spotting contradictions, they understand that a system built on flawed logic can't serve anyone in the long run, and that's when they take action. Not to disrupt for chaos's sake, but to rewrite the rules in a way that serves the greater good. Sigmas don't just settle for playing the game, they aim to change it. By using their insights into these weaknesses, they can suggest new ways of doing things that are more effective, more inclusive, and ultimately, more just. They're the ones who question why things are done a certain way and work behind the scenes to create better solutions, often unnoticed, until the change has already begun. Their ability to see through the cracks and fix what others choose to ignore is what allows them to challenge and ultimately transform the systems that have outlived their usefulness. In the end, Sigmas are not just rule breakers, they are rule makers. They don't defy societal norms out of rebellion, but out of a profound understanding that true progress and innovation only emerge when we question the foundations we've built everything upon. They see rules for what they are, limitations imposed by outdated thinking, and instead of accepting them as gospel, they use their unique insights to rewrite the script and create something entirely new. By refusing to stay within the confines of tradition, Sigmas force society to rethink what's possible. They challenge us to see that growth happens when we venture beyond comfort, that innovation thrives when we break free from the chains of outdated expectations, and that real power comes from the courage to question everything. They remind us that the world's most significant breakthroughs were never achieved by those who played it safe or followed the crowd, but by those bold enough to disrupt the status quo. In a world full of people trying to fit in, Sigmas stand tall in their authenticity, carving out paths where none existed. Their refusal to conform isn't an act of defiance for the sake of it. It's the conscious decision to reshape the future. And while others may follow, it's Sigmas who lead, showing us that greatness lies not in obeying rules, but in knowing when and why to break them. If you found this perspective eye-opening, if you're ready to challenge the status quo and embrace the power of thinking beyond the limits, then hit that subscribe button and join this journey. This isn't just another channel. It's a space for the bold, the unconventional, and the revolutionary. You won't just follow the crowd here, you'll learn to lead. So don't miss out on the future we're building together. Subscribe now, and let's keep rewriting the rules one video at a time. Thanks, damsels, for tuning in. See you in the next vid. Bye and stay blessed.